Welcome to the Value of Recruitment podcast with me, Jon Brooks. Sponsored by Atlas, the recruitment platform helping you become an AI-powered recruiter. This week, I'm joined by Matthew Wragg, CEO of Gattaca PLC, parent company of STEM recruitment specialists MatchTech. Matt talks about the importance of taking pride in recruitment and how the perception of our industry is changing, even down to how his dad talks about what his son does for a living. We talk about how Matt has created a unified brand identity and the importance of understanding the why before rolling out a big change in business. We also talk about how large recruitment agencies can still be niche experts, how to balance standardized process and personal flair, and why Matt doesn't believe in industrialising personality and emotional intelligence. Enjoy the show. I hope you find it valuable. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here, John. Thanks very much for the invite.
No, I appreciate it. You've got obviously a big brand, a big group of companies, so there's a lot to talk about. But we'll kick off with the big question, as always. In your eyes, how valuable is recruitment?
I think it can be really valuable if bought and delivered in the right way. I think the industry hopefully is going through a bit of an inflection point where it's realizing the value that we can bring. I think I had my interview for this place about 24 years ago today, actually. But I think in that time, I've seen it go from not really understood and really valuable to, let's be honest, very kind of process heavy, very transactional, and probably lost its way a little bit. Personal view is it's getting back to that real trusted advisor, professional consultancy again. And we know for companies that we work really closely with, it can be an absolute competitive advantage to their success. And likewise, candidates, I think we underestimate how difficult it is for a candidate to know how do they make their career successful, whether that's as a professional contractor or permanent. So yeah, we can bring a great lot of value. I think just we as an industry need to remember that and take pride in that and be more vocal about it rather than apologizing for being recruiters. So yeah, loads of value.
Yeah, great point. I think that making that assumption, once you're in recruitment, you think, oh, well, now I know recruitment, I know what to do. Sometimes you assume everyone else understands recruitment as well. So that candidate point, you think, well, you know what to do, you know how to get a job. And actually, so many people don't.
Yeah.
And then on the client side, actually, sometimes we go in and say, hey, I'm going to do great recruitment for you. Yeah. Without spelling out and leading a client through, this is what great recruitment looks like. And this is why we are the people to do it for you.
Yeah. I think we forget about, I got quite lucky early in my career where I've probably overpromised on something, which I think certainly when you're new and enthusiastic, it's like, I've got an opportunity to have a customer. Of course I can do that. And I got towards, I remember it was like, let's say it was on the Monday of the week, I'd made this promise to find these very specialist RF engineers. And I was going to find 5 of them. And I worked bloody hard all week looking for them, interviewing lots of people, screening everywhere, advertising everywhere. And it got to about Thursday and I hadn't really got lucky yet. I hadn't found anything perfect. And I was at that dilemma of going, do I hide? What do I do to the client? Do I send them some okay ones, but not great ones? Do I fess up to it? And I got on the phone and typically probably initially there was a moment of, oh, did I give you the opportunities? Because they'd probably been approached by a few people that week. And I kind of fessed up and I now call it my maths homework. You know, when you were a kid and you used to get marks for getting the answer wrong, but you showed you working out. And I ended up kind of talking the customer through what I had done and why it wasn't working. And you could just see the kind of, the tone in the voice was one of, oh, wow, if you've done that and you've done this and you've done that, maybe I've got something wrong. Whereas we often just talk about the need and the output, as opposed to kind of actually what is there that we're going to put in effort-wise to try and get a great result for the customer and educating on how difficult and what is really out there. I think that's super important and not to kind of just assuming everyone knows what's involved, as I say, both client and candidate-wise.
Yeah, I think the idea of black box recruitment. So the client inputs their needs, and then it just disappears into black box until some candidates turn up. And as you said very well, we need to show our homework more. We need to say not just we're working hard, but this is what we're doing. These are, be honest, these are the challenges we're facing. this is where it's going well. We've got 2 great people, but we know we need 4 for you as a client to be well set up to get the best people here. And we're struggling with that 3rd and 4th, and this is why, and this is how.
Yeah.
I think it is on us as recruiters to make sure our clients understand and value what we do. We can't sit back and say, why don't clients value us?
Yeah.
So we have to show our homework.
And how are they buying as well? Obviously, there's a huge amount of the global staffing market which is done via a portal, in theory. I'm trying to think of a decent analogy. It's probably a bit like getting on Netflix. Thousands of movies on there, and some they recommend to you, but we all spend half an hour, 45 minutes searching through, looking at a picture, thinking, is that the one for me? When you haven't got to the depth of that story and how you fit in right now. And if actually your partner actually went, we'll need a real cheery one right now and something like this, you go with the recommendation. But I think it is how's it being consumed is as important as how do you articulate the value of that.
Yeah. Again, it's transactional, isn't it? Just here's a very long list. Yeah, the Netflix and now the TikToks. It's an infinite scroll. It goes on forever, and that's what the transactional end of CV presentation has come to, right?
Yeah,
you can see everyone. That's not valuable.
Yeah, finding. I talk about a lot at the moment. It's in our business that finding someone's not going to be the value. It's knowing, really trusting, being able to assess, actually, is that a real person or is that just an AI bot anyway? Actually, do you really know and can you speak about the person and the culture and the emotional intelligence and the value they could bring, or have you just found someone? I think finding was a need over the last 10, 15 years, but I think it's find and know, which will be more interesting and more of a value to our customers and candidates.
Yeah. I've got something buzzing in my head now about the idea of a business model for a Netflix advisor. Scrolling through, you're like, hang on, no. Just tell me one film I need to watch.
Yeah. We love as the industry coming up with new service titles, don't we? So I'm sure there'll be one soon.
The Netflix of recruitment. We'll get there. I like that as you bring it up. It does feel like there's a new, or even, is it history repeating itself? But this new value that recruiters can offer, this trust and verification of candidates. So talk us through that from your perspective. You're running a big business here. How do you systematize that, and how do you create that in a way that's valuable to your clients and that is something that all of your consultants can do?
Just start with some simple questions, Jon.
Solve AI, thanks.
Yeah. So I think this is multifaceted. Clearly, my job it's a really simple one. I've got to try and help everybody in this business be as successful as possible. How do I? There's hundreds of us, and they're all unique. So I think the days where we have, and many people looked at kind of one singular approach, and we used to have something called the Gattaca way, and it was like, if you do it that way, it'll work. No, it won't. Like 10% of it, do it that way. 90% work out what is really good for you in your market, in your skill sets, for your style. So I think we're really focused on what are the non-negotiable 10% that I need to be able to know how my business is doing and to guarantee a level of quality of service to my customers and data accuracy, etc. But the 90% is about personal flair. So I think it's about how do you create the right environment. For us, a few years ago, we had to go on a positive journey. We weren't in a particularly great place. We owned that. We put ourselves there, and we knew we had to change the trajectory of the group. And so that was a whole range of things. But that starts with, if I link that back to my earlier comment, there was some type of business that we were doing that if we continued doing that, that was going to be in conflict with what I was saying I wanted us to be and the approach I wanted to do. So we had to walk away from some pretty big contracts so that we could actually be honest and authentic. And then I think everything else is like culture and behaviors is massive for me. It's probably my single biggest focus every single day. And we've done a huge amount of groundwork to be clear on what do we mean by culture and what do we mean by behaviors, and really spell it out and really recognize and celebrate greatness and really properly tackle the behaviors if they're not. And I think that we've been at this about 3 years now, just over 3 years. I think if you consistently do that, we're relaunching our latest Gattaca DNA behaviors in the next couple of weeks. That's an evolution of it rather than a change. And I think if you're really consistent and you keep pushing it just means that you are promoting more of the right people. you are attracting more of the right people, you are supporting more of the right people. And that enables you to go on a better, more authentic pathway as a business. So yes, it's not easy, but I think if you do the basics really, really well and you're consistent about that, and you don't suddenly get some kind of magpie, oh, that's exciting, let's go and do it a completely different way, because then people don't know what they're really following. I think if you're really, really consistent with that I think has probably unlocked a lot of our cultural success. And we've got a tough market right now, but we've got record levels of engagement. They have absolutely rocketed over the last 3 years, and even the last 12 months, really, really supercharged. And that's in a tough environment. So we are feeling more and more united, acting more and more united, having more success because of that. And that all comes back to, for me, comes back to culture and behaviors.
Yeah.
AI does help, tooling does help, branding does help. All of it comes together, but underpinning all of that, it's just fantastic people knowing what the expectations are of each other.
Yeah, and it's like the strategy versus tactical. AI, branding, all of that is, well, tactical, or at least not top level. What is the highest level you can do? And that is, what direction are we going in? Or to your point, what culture do we have? Yeah. Who are we? I think it's really powerful. Something that stood out for me there, you said, you used to have the Gattaca way, and I think that's pretty common in larger agencies. This is how we do things. For one thing, it's easier to market and say, and sit down in front of a client, and any client, and say, this is what we do. This is our service. This is what you're buying. When you say 90% of it is personal flair, that's really interesting. How do you, I can see that might help you stand out, but that also makes it harder, probably from a leadership perspective and from a marketing perspective. How do you then package that as, this is what MatchTech is, this is the experience you're going to get, if actually it's dependent on the personality and the market and everything else?
Yeah, I don't think it's easy. I think we're probably, any leader of any business is kidding themselves if they think they really do control 100%. So I think actually, if you touch upon branding, which to your words, you say tactical, my marketing director killed me to suggest that. I think actually it feeds a part of the who are we. But if I go back to where we were, and we've mentioned Gattaca and we've mentioned MatchTech already, we were a PLC of Gattaca, and we had so many brands. We were in 24 countries, 13 different brands in 14 sectors. I think we were actually going to market and telling anyone what we were and what we did. I thought I was a pretty good salesperson. Even that was really difficult for me to articulate who the hell are we. So actually, over the last year, we've been aggregating everything that we do recruitment-wise into MatchTech, and actually enabling MatchTech to be a multi-service, multi-sector, multi-skill organization, rather than coming up with a different brand for different skills or different services or different geographies, which is where we were. So actually, just being able to be known as MatchTech for recruitment and be famous for it, really be famous and really build, what does that mean to be at MatchTech? That doesn't mean how do you get every part of it? How does every email land? What does everyone say at all? It just means, who are we? What we're about? What's our moral compass? What do we want to stand for? We've united that into one. And that makes it a hell of a lot easier to do the 10% because you're doing the 10% once, rather than doing the 10% for 13 different brands and 24 different jobs, etc. So that has really helped. I think the reality is, a great consultant is spending most of their time on the phones, in a coffee shop, on email, on WhatsApp, on various different platforms, communicating. A person is communicating with another person. None of us control that. Like, none of us can control that. You can get AI to do a load of information, some of it, but we all know it's not real. The real stuff is a human being engagement of a human being. I can't control that. What I can do is go, here's my minimum expectations, and here's what I hire, and here's what I recognize as being successful. And that, over time, builds more and more positive and creative and innovative ways of doing things in their own way. A terrible analogy, and I really need to find a better one for this, is I think years ago we were, as a leadership team, sat in the stands watching our team play, and just about as they're about to run up and take the penalty, we'd shout, "It's rugby, it's not football, go over the bar, not under the bar." And I think what we've tried to do, rather than controlling everyone, no one controls that footballer on the pitch. But what we've said is, it is football, and you are playing right back, and we are an attacking play, and our game plan for this match is X, Y, and Z. Now get on and be the best you can be. So I think what we try to do is just be really clear on what that is, what type of club, what do we stand for, how do we behave and pitch, et cetera, rather than coming in last minute and trying to control exactly what someone's doing, because you just can't. And I think the same is for a consultant. The way they communicate, the way they treat their clients and their candidates is going to be unique to them, but we're just setting out a kind of groundwork of who we bring in and who we develop based on that.
Yeah. And I think, again, we've talked about levels of kind of hierarchies of value. I think if you're on the client side, you're thinking, well, hang on, if my match tech experience is not franchised, not McDonald'sized, what I know I'm going to get from match tech is a great recruiter who is good in who's an expert in what they do, but brings personality to them. And actually, I'm assuming, as the kind of owner of the brand, it's your responsibility to then recruit and develop more people who fit that model.
Yeah, I think it's how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you be super famous for what you're doing? And that could be super famous within that skill set, within that service line, within that geography, within that sector. Or it could be you're an absolute expert on outsourcing or service procurement outsourcing or MSP or RPO or a recruit, train, deploy or EDI. So you can have a service specialism across anything. You can have a massively deep understanding of the energy market or the transmission distribution market within that, or you can understand exactly what is happening in substation permanent engineers in that part of it. So it's wherever your knowledge base is, it's having that depth of understanding and that real passion to be the expert, to be a proper consultant. I've said it for years. I hire and train, develop consultants that happen to recruit, not recruitment consultants. I see them really differently in that way. Everyone in this business, whether they are in sales or in support, is an absolute expert in what they do. People should listen based on their knowledge. And the win is, do they then also know how to communicate and have the emotional intelligence to get their knowledge base across internally or externally? And that's where the personality comes in.
Yeah, and I love the idea of we have two parts to the name recruitment consultant. And I think a lot of people have been trained as recruiter rather than consultant.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you dive into, well, what does a consultant do? It understands what the client needs. And if we understand what the client needs, and if obviously we're coming at it from a people perspective, but only then are we going to do the right job and actually create real value for them. If we say, oh, I can recruit someone, that feels like it's going to be lining up CVs for them.
Yeah.
It's lower value.
Yeah, and probably can be automated to about 95% of it now. I'm not even going to throw AI on that, but you could probably just automate it if it is quite simply advertise, screen, review, submit. There is a huge amount of automation. So the value is in the consultancy.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, what's the polar opposite to what you're talking about? Can you control your team? Your answer is no, and I think I'm with you. But certainly, there are certain films that show us sales teams that are just on script, and that is full control. It's people, but they're just reading out the same script, no matter who they are.
Yeah,
and we know how that goes. Certainly in our industry.
Yeah,
and like you say, it doesn't need to be AI to be automated. You can just have someone record it and play it again and again. No, it's I like your optimism. It feels like we're coming back to being more valuable, less transactional.
Yeah. Hey, I think as an industry, and I've seen it ourselves over times where it's been organic or inorganic, you can play this game. You can service this industry in a whole range of different ways. What you can't do is in two ways as one entity. So you need to kind of choose your game, your style, and really commit to that. And I am optimistic, but that's optimistic because that's right for my business and the direction we want to go in. But there'll be others out there who go, I don't subscribe to that tool. I'm going to lead it technology led on as much as I possibly can, have human in the loop just about. And that's fine. They can do that. And that's just another way of buying a type of service, which is in the broader labor workforce environment. I'm just choosing a path which is right for my great team and the great people that want to join my team, which is really authentic to us. I think it's really authentic. You've got a far greater chance of having the passion and commitment to be the best you possibly can at, which no matter what happens in any market, however tough it is, you've got to have that level of authenticity and passion if you want to have any level of success. So it's just right. It's the right path for us.
Yeah. And again, you said it earlier, choosing a path. I mean, first of all, choosing a path, not trying to straddle three paths at the same time, rugby and football, choosing path. And then, having the self-knowledge and intelligence to say, this is the right path for us. I was thinking back to, previous technological revolutions, in our career lifetimes. When apps came along, and everyone, I'm sure you included, said, we need an app.
Gotta have an app.
Yeah. Gotta have an app. What for? I don't know. We just need an app. And actually, how did that play out? A few people were mobile first, and I guess I've had some success, but recruitment has not gone app based. And I think that we can extend that analogy through to AI and say, well, it's not just layering the tech on and it solves it. It is the consultancy, it is the people that where clients are willing to pay and pay a premium for that support.
Yeah, I think you compare and go, right move, it's worked. Great way. I spend loads of time constantly shopping for places I'm never going to move to.
Yeah.
It's more social media for me, that is, I think. But the reality of recruitment is such a broad spectrum. Are you hiring, I don't know, a part-time chef? Are you hiring a previous retiree that you're bringing back in? Are you hiring a construction worker? Are you hiring a cybersecurity? But people are fascinatingly different, and their ways they want to communicate and behave are really different. So trying to do a one-size-fits-all, I think, not for us. But I know there's a hell of a lot of money going into trying to make it work for others.
Yeah. Now, going back to marketing and branding, which, as you say, is very important in case your CMO is listening. How do you... I'm always fascinated at how recruitment agencies stand out from their competitors.
Yeah.
Now, I'll start off by saying that's not an easy thing for anyone in any industry to do. I think in our industry, perhaps more so than ever before, we're seeing boutiques, even solo experts springing up all the time. There's so much technology to support them. And it's easy for that person to say, well, I've been recruiting in this field for 30 years. I've placed hundreds or thousands of people, and I know that. How do you stand out at scale? When we talk about the value of owning a niche and being the expert in a market, how do you do all of those things at scale when a lot of your competitors potentially are smaller and potentially more agile?
Yeah, I don't think we tried to do it at scale is probably the answer to that. I think it's about breaking every market down. If I look at Go, we're really famous for STEM. Match Tech brand has been in the engineering part of that for 41 years now. So we're very, very well known. But even if I just take one country, just take the UK, that's got 52,000 companies that employ STEM professionals in it. We're a big company, but we cannot really, really know every single one of those 52,000 and all the relevant stakeholders in it. So for us, it's about, from both the client and the candidate point of view, being really clear, okay, within that broader skill categorization, which sectors are we really trying to be dominant in? Where do we want to make sure that we are getting to not the total addressable market, but the target addressable market, and really know who they are, what projects are doing, what types of skills they need. And then that in turn feeds, right, so how do we make ourselves relevant for those types of candidates? And not just that skill set, the entry-level people, the transferable people, the retiree people, and looking at all of that as smaller communities. But it comes back to that, who are we and having lots of focus. And that's why we've gone from so many different geographies and so many sectors down to a lot less, is so that actually we can do that really well and that we can get to it. The win is really, that's a whole combination of very niche areas aggregated together with complex service offerings added to it, so that not only can we offer that client intimacy that a boutique can do, but we can then also take that client on a growth evolution journey with governance and structure that traditionally only very, very large companies were able to do. Yeah, it's simply, the answer is by not trying to do it on mass, but knowing where the smaller, very unique communities are and how do we be relevant to them.
Yeah.
The win for us now is actually we've spent the time on our taxonomy to really work out what our services, sectors and skills are, and actually not then trying to do that and go, but we need to do that by 2 or 3 different brands, which then just increases the magnitude of complexity unnecessarily. And actually being able to do that and just be famous in our recruitment world as Matchtech really then enables us to actually not have to reinvent the front cover, but actually put the real relevant content to the right community.
So you've summed that up in a minute or two. That's a huge change. So I'd be interested. What were the challenges? What went well? What were you surprised at? Like, wow, we really nailed that. But also, what did you struggle with? Or what took longer than you expected?
Yeah, I think for us, if I look back, and I've been here for, so there's people who work for us who weren't even born when I joined, so I've been there a hell of a long time. There was a period of time where if we held the mirror up to ourselves, you'd say, actually, we had nice ideas, but we weren't executing well enough. We were having the concept, didn't do enough of that really difficult bit of the challenge, and then tried to turn something on and then it didn't work. I think the biggest part has been developing those execution muscles over the last 3-4 years. And actually the brand change and a recent acquisition we've done were 2 big tests for us as a leadership team, as a whole group, to go, have we really nailed that now? And can we go through that level of change seamlessly? And I love my business. I'm really proud of my business. I don't think I wear rose tinted glasses. I think I can really reflective of where we're at. I was blown away with how well the team and the business have gone through those change journeys. But the biggest challenge on it is probably the work right at the front end of really understanding why and the how before we got into just cracking on with it. So yeah, for us, if I take the Matchtech journey of consolidating a whole variety of brands, of which many of them I created. So a lot of this job in the last few years has been tidying up mess that I created, was actually spending the real time thinking about the level of detail and actually even the taxonomy around the sector skills service stuff. It wasn't right at the concept stage, but it came to life as we started getting to what's our tone, what's our language, what we really stand for. It's like, yeah, but it's going to miss some of my communities. It's not going to quite work. So how do I really make it work for all? And as soon as we unlocked that, it was like, oh my God, we've really gone through the thinking and really looked about how it could fail. And therefore you get the benefits of that. Yeah, upfront prep work and really go through it. Brand changes is difficult. The most, I joined a company called Matchmaker that became Matchtech, which we spun people off into connectors that became network, that became something else. I've seen it go through that numerous times. In fact, I had one of my old contractors who, when we did this final change recently, it was like, Matt, this is the 5th brand since you placed me years ago that I've been through. Actually, the people that care most are always the staff. They who are representing that is theirs, that's their emotional part. And I think if you don't know the why and you can't articulate how it's going to benefit them and therefore also benefit their clients and their candidates, that's when you lose it. For us, so it's all about that upfront work and that absolute commitment as to how's it going to work, why is it the right thing for us, and be relentless in making sure that is as smooth as possible. And of course, we had some small hiccups along the way, but they really were small hiccups. They were tiny things within the realms that could have happened. And what has happened when we've done previous changes, I think there's one I remember us going through where we couldn't advertise jobs on our own website for 3 months. Now that's pretty bad. Yeah, it was a new logo, but that didn't feel good. Whereas actually we'd looked at every single different community and what's the win for them and how do we make sure we execute it?
Yeah, God.
Simple.
The idea of not advertising jobs for 3 months.
I don't know. I need to go back and see whether it did a lot to our numbers at the time. But yeah, it's you lose faith, you lose credibility at placement, and what you want to be building excitement, building credibility. And we looked at lots of different ways within our Matchtech launch or relaunch as to how do we do that. It's far more multifaceted now rather than it's just a brand. It's actually a whole range of everything around the whole organization inside now, which is exciting.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm helping people look at the value they create, I always say we have to start with the why. We have to understand
Yeah.
what our clients value before we start packaging things up.
Yeah.
God forbid, before we start putting a number, like a rate on a perm fee,
Yeah.
or asking for a retainer. Like I see people saying, oh yeah, great, I'd love to win retainers. So, okay, that's what you're interested in, but why? And when you sit down with a client, what's the why and where's the clarity around why that's happening, let alone ask your consultants to go and win a retainer. Well, why would someone pay me a retainer? I don't know. It's really good for us. That doesn't cut it. And it comes, the why allows you to justify.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about price and value, if we understand why we do what we do and why it's valuable, we can justify to our clients. Our clients pick that up. They understand that.
Yeah. Which I think is, again, comes back to that. Where's the market moving to? If you think about how to understand why, you actually need to be very externally focused and very much in your customer's shoes, be that B2B or B2C. I think we had an industry which didn't have to be in those shoes at all in order to be pretty successful. I think that boom post-COVID, no one needed to understand why, they just needed action. We spent a lot of time at that time, we missed that. Self-induced, we were going through technology changes, operational changes, challenges around the business. But actually, all you need to do is get some candidates out to companies, and then we get massive offers and you get lots of fees. So the why wasn't important then, but that was a moment in time one. And I'm sure there'll be lots of people who joined the industry during that time who, as it turned, really struggled to be effective because it wasn't about find, it was about no. So yeah, I think it is of the moment.
Everyone is talking about AI-powered recruiters, but what does that actually look like? With Atlas as your CRM, it means every interaction with your candidate is automatically captured and searchable. If they mention their salary in an email, it's instantly recorded without you having to write anything. And behind the scenes, Atlas discovers every company that a candidate has worked for, the industries those companies operate in, as well as things like company size and description. All this means you can do your job much faster and add more value to your clients. To learn more about Atlas, go to recruitwithatlas.com. Well, let's talk more about the industry. I'm fascinated. How do we make recruitment? There's two very similar sounding questions in this. How do we make it more valued by our clients? So we do what we do, but how do they appreciate our value? How do we communicate that? And then probably the bigger question is, how do we make it more valuable? What more can we add to them? So you can pick either of those questions to answer to start with.
Are they not? They may be the same one. I don't know if we need to add any more. If we value it ourselves and we're able to articulate the value, the job's done. So I think the starting point is the pride. And I'm as guilty as ever. I'm sure I'm caught on camera somewhere talking about my journey, but when I joined the industry, I studied architecture. We had a big engineering family business, which I was probably lined up to take on if I didn't become an architect, and I joined this business. And actually, I didn't tell people that I was a recruiter, partly because my old man's impression of a recruiter was not the most positive one at the time. And actually, so I was a engineering consultant is the way I like that. And actually, it only takes 2 or 3 questions to go, well, what do you mean? What are you consulting on? Well, human capital. What do you mean by human capital? Oh, right, you're a recruiter. Let's not hide from it. What we do is we are fantastically knowledgeable, well-connected people that can really help individuals and customers have an amazing career business. Let's remember that. Let's be proud about that rather than trying to disguise. There was a real phase, wasn't there, of nearly every recruitment company trying to pretend not to be a recruitment company at all. And it was like, no, what we do is we're fantastic at connecting that network. The extra bit is how do we do that consistently with great governance, with regular repeatability, better standards, better whatever it is, but don't hide away from what we do. So I think that pride bit is for me is the challenge. And I really hope, like this has been I do look at things like the REC, KPMG data and go, the market stopped being buoyant the same week myself and the CFO took over here. So we know nothing but the longest plateau I think the industry's ever seen. I think my hope from that is what it has is those still standing now are people that really do bloody love the industry and that are really good at it. And I hope one of the positives of the pretty tough market it's been is that actually what it's done is it's potentially removed a lot of the transactional approach in the industry, and it's left people who are able to still fight and survive right now because they are really knowledgeable, they are really capable, they are really passionate about what they do, and therefore they wear it as a badge of pride what they do rather than disguising or being ashamed of what they're about. So I think it all comes back to that, which is easier, I think, when you're in a market which is less buoyant and people aren't just hiring for the sake of hiring to move CVs around. Actually, what we all do is work bloody hard in a really smart way, in a really comprehensive way to make a competitive advantage. We should be proud of that. In a way, no issues at all if the market just continues to be as difficult as it has been for the last few years. And that's what we're really focused on, is being super successful within that environment rather than just waiting for the next boom.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you see, we often describe recruitment as being super cyclical.
Yeah.
Do you see a future boom eroding some of that value or perceived value, bringing back those transactional things? Or do you think those of us who've survived are building better foundations?
Yes and no. We are an amazing industry for being opportunistic. And if it goes boom, there'll be many companies out there that go, let's crack on. Short term, let's just make that happen. I think the slight difference, if we link that back to some of the comments around technology and AI, is I don't think we will need to go through a boom as an industry again, where if it gets super busy, it's not a head-for-head hiring program again. I think all of us will look at who are the people we've developed and trained really successfully over the years, and how do we help them become 50, 100% more effective, rather than just, I've got to put another person in. So I think that will be a slight nuance of the next boom, which will come. It is cyclical. It will come. When it comes, I have no idea. I've given up trying to guess on that. But of course it will be. Within any market, within any skill set, within any geography, if you are obsessing about that enough, there are always golden streams of opportunity. There are always winners out there in your customer base, and therefore opportunities to help your candidates out. So, but yeah, I'm sure there will be an element going back to a slightly more transactional approach when it goes crazy, but not so low as it has done before. And again, it will be business choice. It's which path do you want to go on? And if you're a business which is really happy to hire and fire, then they might choose to do that. And there's plenty that have, and they've been very successful over the years as well at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a fair number of recruitment owners who talk about the boom with regret. They say, oh, we were too busy to do it better.
Yeah.
We were too busy to really engage those clients, whether it's kind of build that brand in the biggest sense of the word.
Yeah.
To be remembered, to stand out as someone different, and to engage, to get more commitment from the clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with hindsight, they say, well, more of that engagement, more relationships would have then seen us through 23, 24, 25 in a very different way.
Yeah, perhaps, probably, but perhaps as well. I think sometimes in a booming market, some of your best clients just need to get people in. And actually, it's the time when sometimes you actually see an erosion of loyalty because they're under such pressure to increase headcount. They will take it from anywhere so as to get to that quota. Whereas in a tougher time, they will work with the people they really know and trust because they don't need to. So I think there is a flip to that. To go, was that possible? I'm sure it was. We're in our own journey here. I think every business would have been in its own phase, but we were going through so much internal change. We did try to capitalize on it, but we didn't execute it well. But we had so much other stuff going on. We actually, we saw almost no increase. I remember bumping loads of people going, "You must be going nuts right now." And I'm sitting there thinking that numbers going, we're really not. What we're missing. But that was self-induced. My mission is to make us as good as we can possibly be, and we're in a nice place. We've got good momentum. We're growing monthly, which is exactly what we're after. But to continue to do that, no matter what the market's, but also make sure we're in a really good, strong, authentic position for if and when another boom does come.
Yeah. I have to ask, going back to perception. What would your dad say about recruiters now?
He's got a brilliant ability of, there's so many stories about my dad that I won't put on. He's got a brilliant ability of someone who bumps into, it's like, oh, my son does recruitment. So I think there's an element of pride now. I think that was probably took 2 or 3 years. But for me, there was a moment. I love my dad. From about 7 years old, I worked in the family business, sweeping up swarf and all sorts. And so I used to go to exhibitions with him and help with the stands. I used to sit in the car when he was out on the road trying to win customers as a active MD. And there was a moment for me, probably about 3 years into working here, where I got invited by a very senior person of a major defense engineering company to come and talk to them about how I could help build their team. And I remember just driving through the security gates of it. I was like, I sat outside these gates about 15, 20 times as a kid. My dad's trying to get in, trying to get an opportunity from that business. And I've been reached out to and contacted and invited. And that for me was my moment of, yeah, this is valuable. So right now, yeah, great pride. But he still has a habit of whoever he bumps into, no matter what they do. Sometimes recruitment, I get you, yeah, Dad, I can't, he's a chef. I can't help a chef out. It's just not what we do. But yeah, certainly we're past the clip round the year that I definitely got at the start of this career.
Yeah, when you turned down his business to go into this one.
Yeah, and again, God knows how that would have gone. I love him, but we weren't made to work side by side with each other for a good number of years. That would have been. So yeah, no regrets at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, it all comes back to people, doesn't it? Running a family business isn't as easy as just plugging in the next generation.
Yeah.
Hiring for a new team member isn't as easy as just picking a CV off someone who's an engineer. It has to be more than that.
Yeah, I do wonder. I kind of look back that I'm a very reflective person anyway, but being brought up and our family business was, my language is, it was number one child and I was number 4. It made the why and the emotion matter. Like, we knew as kids, we knew everyone who worked in the factory. We knew if it was having a good time. We knew if it was having a hard time. The dinner conversations were nearly all about problems and how my mum had left here, my dad was MD, were going to resolve it. It was, I don't know, 150, 200 people. I don't know. It wasn't massive. For us, it was the biggest business in the world. But I saw that work ethic and that care for everybody in it and the success of that business. And I certainly think that left an imprint on me and therefore very early days, even when it was the business I was leading with my desk, it was still very much about how do I make sure this desk is looked after and the people in it are looked after, my clients, my candidates. And I think I did look back at that and I thank the folks a huge amount for that cultural awareness, I suppose, and emotional intelligence that they just ingrained in all of us, either by design or accident.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting, that sums up a point I often think about. We say recruitment, and that one word covers so much and so many different types of course, different types of niche, different types of sector, different types of approaches, even, temp, contract, perm are different.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the way someone runs a desk, you can get 2 recruiters. I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast can think of the best colleague they've ever sat next to and the worst colleague they've ever sat next to. And that is just a different world. I'm always amused that the price, clients will often pay the same price, the same rate to work with either of those people. And part of my mission is to say, well, hang on, let's communicate when someone's really nailed it, when someone has that passion and that duty of care and puts that attention into their desk and into their candidates and their clients. How do we make sure our clients can see that? How do we communicate that?
Yeah, and it is. Hey, this is your world, and Jon, but it is about experience. It is about value. It is about positioning. It is about personality. It's that combination. God knows how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of different consultants who happen to recruit there are in the world. But you can guarantee if you ask them all to have a conversation, maybe even with the same candidate, they all have a slightly different conversation. And the tonality, the wording, the speed, the interest, the curiosity, the care, whatever it is, there'll be loads of different elements which will make it slightly unique. And that's what I love about it. That's the bit. And I also have been someone who had tried to industrialize too much of it as well in this business in years gone past, but taking those learnings and gone, you shouldn't try and industrialize personality. You shouldn't try and industrialize emotional intelligence. You can industrialize transactional movement and stuff around, but you shouldn't try, or we won't try and industrialize the personality of our people and our clients and our candidates. We almost lean into it as much as we can. We're one of the few, I think, out there at the moment who's significantly trying to grow our sales workforce. So we'd like to add at least another 30 superstars in the UK in the next 6 months. And it all comes back to looking for great experienced people with their own great personality that we can go, we've got a great tool set, we've got a great brand, we've got a great customer experience, we've got all the experts that you're going to need to lean upon to get great advice to give your customer the experience or evolve their service offering. But we want you for you. And we want to lean into what makes you great and not just come in and do it the way we tell you to. I think that for me is a positive step for us.
Yeah. Well, and that shifting away from industrializing, it does seem to be paying off as we move into a higher value offering and a world in which clients want that higher value stuff. We've covered so much. Thank you, Matt. You run a huge business and you spin a lot of plates and describe them very well. So thank you for sharing your experiences and your thoughts on that.
Not a problem. I hope, if one person gets one bit of nugget which helps them make them as an individual or their team or their business more successful, then fantastic. So more than happy to help if I can.
I'm sure many people will. Thanks again, and good luck with 2026 and beyond.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Cheers, Jon.
Thanks again to Matt for sharing his insights and approach. 3 things stood out for me. First, his pride in being a recruiter and his confidence in the value he and his team create for clients and candidates. Secondly, Matt's belief in the importance of personal flair rather than trying to control service delivery from a centralized point. And third, his explanation of how he made a significant change in Match Tech by starting with the why behind everything they were doing. If you found the show valuable, please leave a review and remember to subscribe or follow the show on your podcast app. You can also get more insights and inspiration by signing up to my added value emails on Substack. You can find the link in the show notes. Now, go create some value. Thank you to Atlas for sponsoring the Value of Recruitment podcast. To learn more about how Atlas is creating an AI platform that helps recruitment agencies generate more placements with less effort, visit recruitwithatlas.com.